we're looking at a piratical punch-out with a familiar playstyle in this print and play edition of Little Big Thumbs. Welcome to Little Big Thumbs, a channel that's all about celebrating games that are equally fun for little players and big players. My name is JP, and today we're talking about Beards and Booty, a print and play game that, at the time of this recording, was headed into its final week on Kickstarter. This game is presented by No Box Games, a company that seems to be solely committed to producing printable games at a very affordable price. The base game of Beards and Booty, that's a fun name to say. The base game is a dice-driven combat game, and the Kickstarter campaign has also introduced a solo and co-op mode. And in this video, we're going to be looking at all those different ways to play the game, as well as the 3 ways that this little game is a unique experience. So, let's harden our R's and learn a little bit more about how to play Beards and Booty. By purchasing Beards and Booty, you will receive a digital rulebook as well as a collection of 4 character sheets. But you will need to provide your own dice and tokens for tracking reputation and gold. In this video, we'll be borrowing the Quackers from Ducks in Tow by First Fish Games. The character sheets will need to be printed out, or if each player has a tablet handy, you can use those instead. In both the competitive and co-op modes of Beards and Booty, players will each have a character sheet as well as 2 tokens to track their reputation and gold. Players will be taking their turns rolling 5 dice 3 times, Yahtzee style. After the first roll, keep the dice you like and then re-roll the rest. After your 3rd roll, you will use that final result to trigger one of the combinations on your player sheet. Those results will either damage the reputation, which is essentially like a life meter of one of your foes, restore your own reputation, or gain some gold. That gold can be spent to activate some special abilities, which can allow for additional re-rolls, manipulating dice, or if we spend 3 gold, we'll get to activate an epic ability, like doubling the booty gained on your turn. In the competitive mode, the goal is to reduce all of your foes to 0 reputation, and in that co-op and solo mode, you'll be facing off against an ominous creature, and we'll be attempting to bring its reputation, or health, down to 0. Now, for me, it's impossible to look at this turn structure and not think of Dice Throne. Rolling the dice 3 times, activating abilities on a hero board, and trying to reduce your enemies to 0 health? That's the core Dice Throne experience. Now obviously, Dice Throne's card play, status effect tokens, and defensive roll phase makes for a more lengthy and strategic experience. But it's hard to imagine that the team behind Beards and Booty were not at least partially inspired by that insanely popular game. That being said, Dice Throne has become something of a collectible game with a dense roster of heroes, and that collectability can be pretty expensive. By contrast, Beards and Booty is just $5 on Kickstarter, and it'll probably be maybe $1 or 2 more after the campaign. To be clear, we're not talking about a straight-up clone here, but it is worth talking about the similarities as well as the differences, and that brings us to our 3 uniques. So let's quickly run down the 3 things that makes Beards and Booty stand out. Our first unique is that Beards and Booty requires almost no reading. The iconography is mostly limited to those 3 currencies of gold, reputation, and healing, and that means that as long as you're playing with someone that can roll 5 dice, they can probably play a game of Beards and Booty. I could imagine myself introducing this game to a 4 or 5-year-old, whereas the on-ramp for a full game of Dice Throne is probably closer to 8. Our second unique is that the solo and co-op modes of Beards and Booty are somehow even more intuitive than the base game. After each player takes their turn in a co-op game, any remaining dice that weren't used to trigger an ability are re-rolled, and that result is what the opposing creature uses to respond. The creature often deals 1 or 2 damage, but if we have an unlucky 3rd roll and the creature winds up with 3 dice to use for their response, well, that can deal some pretty hefty blows to our pirates. In my few plays using this mode, I managed to win every game, even at the most difficult setting. But given that the difficulty is just tied to the health of the opposing creature, we can easily just keep ramping that up higher and higher until it's just right for you. The Beards and Booty co-op experience does an excellent job of simulating an opponent without adding almost any additional bookkeeping. And there's literally no point in comparing that with Dice Throne's dungeon-crawling cooperative expansion, Dice Throne Adventures. And our final unique is just the very cute artwork by Kristian Fosh, who also happens to be the designer of Catapult Feud, one of our all-time favorite dexterity games. Beards and Booty includes 4 characters, all of which are instantly appealing, and backing the campaign also gets us black and white low ink versions of those characters, which is great for me because I don't own a color printer, and it's great for my kids because coloring sheets, which is a whole other activity that we get to tackle before playing the game. So that's our quick look at Beards and Booty. If you don't have the budget to dive into Dice Throne, or you're playing with children who maybe aren't ready for the card play of that super popular game, Beards and Booty is going to be a really fun time, and I would be shocked if they didn't release more character packs and co-op variants down the line. If you're curious to learn more, make sure to check out the video description for links to both the campaign page as well as the No Box Games website, and all of the lovely place that you can find Little Big Thumbs, including the family tabletop community Discord server. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, whether you've got little players or big players, make sure that you keep playing games that make your thumbs go way up. Bye for now.